All right, welcome back. I can't believe it. We've made it to our 5th episode of Bootstrapping to Billions. And today's episode is going to be a little bit special, a little bit different. It's very close to home. It's practicing what we preach over at Bootstrapper.ai. It's a retrospective. So we're 4 episodes in already. We're going to look at each of the 4. We're going to pull the data. We're going to analyze the data, and we're going to hopefully make some good timely decisions as to what we should be doing with this Bootstrapping to Billions podcast. Stick with us. It should be a great episode. All right. So the first thing that I want to get into when we talk about this Bootstrapping to Billions 1-month retrospective is what we're trying to achieve, right? So when I think about Bootstrapper in general, we are definitely building a billion-dollar brand. I see it as a billion-dollar brand in my mind, right? I see it as like the Nike of entrepreneurship. But when we talk about Bootstrapping to Billions, it means a little bit more. We try to really make meaning and find meaning in everything that we're doing. We're very brand conscious for sure, right? We can see that in our lemon guy. You see him in the intro. He's all over like our socials with the little lemon guy comic. He's on the sites, different brands. Like there's meaning behind him, right? People ask me all the time, like, what's with the lemon guy? Well, let me tell you. I think of lemonade stand. I think of a simple, profitable business, right? When we have nostalgia and think back of like the simplest business somebody could be in, right? The first thing you do as a little kid is set up your lemonade stand, right? And then as bootstrappers, it's like who we are in our spirit. We're all about grit and grind and perseverance, and we're all about turning lemons to lemonade, right? So lemon guy, right? Like that's our guy. You know, in terms of bootstrapping to billions, again, important to brand, right? On the platform Bootstrapper.ai, we have a very, very clear North Star strategy, right? Our North Star that we share with everybody so that everybody knows what it is that we're doing and what it is that we're building is we want to build and track $1 billion of bootstrapped equity on platform, right? So when we talk about bootstrapping to billions as a podcast, what we're really talking about is not us or me bootstrapping to billions. What we're really talking about is us as the collective, right? Us as every single bootstrapper who hopefully watches the podcast, takes a little bit of action, and comes on and joins the Bootstrapper.ai platform to collectively build and bootstrapped $1 billion of equity tracked on platform, right? So the really cool thing about our platform, this is definitely not going to be a show the platform and promote the platform thing, but it's all about building equities, right? So our thing is build equity, unlock capital, exit with ownership. Those are the 3 promises in our tagline, but it's all about, profitable habit formation, right? We're trying to get people into a very consistent thing. So it's build equity every week profitably. And one of the really cool things that we do that nobody else does is when you first come in, you're going to get activated very fast. So we've been doing long-term equity management through the Bootstrapper ecosystem, through our LTEM advisory firm for a very long time. The content, the books that we've written, right? So we have, all of these different books that I've written over the years. At the very beginning, we wrote those books because we wanted something physical to hand to our clients, right? So we would work with family, multi-generational family businesses, mostly bootstrap businesses, owner-run businesses, exit, 1 through exit 5, but typically, a couple of million to 20 million or so. And the whole goal was long-term equity management, trying to build a sustainable and profitable business, maximizing the value. And I myself, in terms of a brand and what I want to build my brand around, is becoming the best in the world, like the Michael Jordan of Nike, the best in the world of building wedge equity. And wedge equity is simply the difference between what your business is worth today versus what it could be worth in the future if you did certain things that actually built equity. And I believe that equity, wedge equity, can be built. So with the platform, we tried to take all of the IP that we've experienced, all of like the learned, lived experience and knowledge over the years doing this for ourselves and doing this for others, bring it into the platform. So you have the exit studio, which is all about exit readiness. It's going to assess the different aspects of your business, and the goal is to identify risk. And in the action of removing risk, so the risk that's likely going to kill your business, and if it doesn't kill your business, it's going to kill the valuation of your business. So we're trying to identify these things that will kill your business, and in removing them, what we're really doing is increasing the value of your business over time. Right. So the exit studio is like this super actionable thing to get you started. But the cool and unique thing about, one of the very cool and unique things, it's not the cool and unique thing that we do, is we give everybody a weekly valuation, right? So we're trying to immediately get you activated again into this like cadence of accountability so that collectively, again, we could build and track $1 billion of bootstrapped equity on platform. And we want to do it in this like every week way, right? We want to give you the habits to be able to run a cash flowing bootstrapped business. And one of the ways that we do it is by giving you a weekly valuation, right? So every single week, we're going to show you what your current valuation is. We're going to show you what your potential valuation could be. And then we're going to run risk assessments dynamically through the data and the dashboards to identify the aspects of your business that could be improved to increase that value over time. And the exit studio is like one of the built-in mechanisms using the AI that will actually prompt you to take actions, right? So a lot of this is us getting you into a system. So the Bootstrapper OS or equity management system, it's like a cadence of accountability to run and operate your business. But we're also trying to get you these tools to be able to do so. And then in doing so, you're going to go on and be able to unlock capital from the capital marketplace we're building on the backside, which is a whole nother conversation. It's a whole nother problem. Everything starts somewhere. We're focusing on building equity today, right? And then eventually go on and exit with ownership because we also have an exit marketplace. But with the podcast, the goal behind the podcast also, again, comes back to this concept of brand, right? And we really want to be intentional with everything we do, right? So when I dropped the book, my last book, Exit with Ownership, I wrote this book because I wanted to really be able to complement the exit studio experience. And in the exit studio and in the book, Exit with Ownership, I talk about the 5 exits of ownership because really I'm trying to get folks bootstrappers. Again, we capture this brand that is bootstrapping, billion-dollar brand. You're either a bootstrapper or you're not. The reality is most of the world, most business owners in the world are bootstrappers, right? Very few go on and raise capital, even fewer become venture-backed, right? So the vast majority of us are bootstrappers. Our ICP is in the word. It's a dictionary level word for bootstrapper. We definitely want to own the brand that is the market that is Bootstrapper in terms of its ham, but it's important to us to also create an identity. So we tried to create this concept of an investorpreneur, someone who takes an investor's mindset, like discipline of an investor, the grit and grind of a bootstrapper, of an entrepreneur, best of both worlds, combine them, right? And that's what we try to promote through what we're doing and the voice that we're pursuing. It's taking a whole co mentality. It's taking like almost like a family office-esque experience and approaching your business to with ownership. And in order to be able to get somebody to navigate towards ownership, because for many bootstrappers, many business owners, ownership exiting is very far down the line, could be 20 years off. I had to break it down into 5 exits. I had to make it actionable to everybody at every stage, starting with the very first, which is exit 1, exit the day job, make your business your job. And then you're navigating through each of these exit stages as you go and you build your business. And by breaking it down into these small steps, it's like how you eat a cake one bite at a time. We can then activate through the platform the right things to do at each of these exit stages so that you can actually really build equity. You can then go on and unlock capital through the platform and then go on and truly exit with ownership. So again, a lot of this has to do with brand and identity and doing the right things with a purpose and a reason behind it. Right. So you got the Exit with Ownership book, which is all about this journey, the 5 exits of ownership. You have it all within the concept of being a bootstrapper, which is about retaining, ownership, because we're not going and raising venture and getting diluted. Right? We are trying to retain as much ownership as possible. We're approaching it with this investpreneurs mentality, which is really this holdco family office esque type of ownership mentality. We're turning our businesses from jobs or liabilities to assets, right? And we're doing so on the Bootstrapper.ai platform. And collectively as a whole, we're hopefully, bootstrapping to billions. So the goal of this podcast is really to try to activate that. I want to really try to activate the concept of us doing it collectively as a whole. And that's something that, I don't think that I've been necessarily great at in the past in terms of, genuinely building like, a collective audience, like something that we're all a part of. So that was important to me in terms of creating the content here for the podcast. And I wanted to be able to give a voice to folks at every stage of every exit. I think that there's a lot of coverage of like the late stage success stories. And I think that it'd be cool to cover everybody at every stage. And if I can have the right level of conversation, which I'm trying to figure out how to do with the right guests to be able to uncover the right things, like I don't think that every episode needs to be like a celebrity guest type of thing for the views. What I really think that we need to do is to be able to gather the right level of information and collect the right level of resources so that collectively we can all benefit. And for me, the goal of the podcast is to do that. It's to be able to get and gather from folks who are living this, right? I almost want to be like the BS detector in a certain extent. Like I want to talk to folks that are living this life. I'm going to talk to folks that are actually creating things of value that bootstrappers can use. So not every guest is going to be a bootstrapper. Definitely not every guest is going to be a billionaire. But collectively as a whole, we should hopefully be able to create value in every episode that our audience, our bootstrappers, our investpreneurs can put to work towards that goal of collectively, bootstrapping to $1 billion plus built and tracked on platform, right? And then we want to be able to give the tools and activation to be able to do so. So again, we break everything down to these 5 exits of ownership, right? And as we're working through it, I wanted to really target and create content, especially in the first 4 episodes, to support like each of these 5 exits with that intentionality and that reason and that purpose behind it. So in the very first episode, we launched it with the QSBS and how to not pay taxes legally, right? And, which is, that's like it was pretty good copy, I guess, because we got a decent amount of views for the first episode. We also pushed it pretty heavy, but this was an episode that I teed up and I wanted to launch for like 2 years, it feels like, prior to actually doing so. I did build another podcast called It's the Capital Call, and I recorded like 60 episodes. I never put it out publicly. I put it out privately in a community that I was running with like exit entrepreneurs, but I never shared it publicly. This was like one of the ones that I wanted to do from there. And we've been going back and forth on LinkedIn for like years, teeing it up. And I knew that when we were going to launch this podcast, I really did want it to be the first one, because I think QSBS in general is like an amazing, I think that it's like an amazing tool, right? I think that every entrepreneur should know about it. It's one of those things that's, again, kind of only known to folks at certain stages of their entrepreneurial journey, right? And we don't want to gatekeep. That's a big part of what we're trying to do here, right? So like this whole point of sharing and collecting these resources with Bootstrapper Capital, I'm trying to build almost like the family office for the rest of us. So, there's this whole world of like an elite level of knowledge and insight and insider information that's only available to very ultra high net worth individuals. Like you exit for 50 million or 100 million or even, 100 million or higher net worth. You kind of set up these things called family offices. And it's really about wealth creation and, all these different types of things that you can put into place to be able to build long-term sustainable wealth. I bootstrapped my whole life, right? So my first business that I built and bootstrapped and exited, I was 17. I built a personalized baby album company. bootstrapped it, sold it for $50,000. Not a lot of money, big win. I went on to college and I bootstrapped the first social network for young investors, and I exited that before I graduated to folks actually a couple towns over from me in Greenwich, Connecticut. And then I left college and I went up to Boston and I bootstrapped a business to 8 figures, and I exited that in 2012. And I set up my own version of a family office, of my family holdco. And I had gone through this whole process after that exit of like, well, what are the right types of decisions to make and how do you navigate these changes and all this stuff. And I also always have like had this fantasy of building, like a Berkshire Hathaway as well. So uniquely, it was something that I was already interested in doing. But when I was in that position and I had to make the investment and hire advisors to make the right types of choices, this is like what we set up. And I've been running it ever since. It's called Simple Holdings. I've been operating it for like, I don't know, do that math, 15 years or something. I'll do public math. But what I'm trying to do with Bootstrapper Capital for the last 5 years, which it's been a journey. We've gone through a number of different kind of like a brand redesign pivots into certain focuses. A big thing that's important to me is affordable and flexible capital. I think that capital markets are utterly broken for bootstrapped for most of us, right? So I think that disruption of that is fundamentally important and will drive a tremendous amount of value. So I did spend a lot of time. I invested a lot of time originally with trying to create a structure that was just affordable and flexible, performance-based capital, bootstrapper friendly. Today, fast forward, what we're doing with the platform is we're leveraging the data as people are building equity. And as we are collectively bootstrapping this $1 billion of equity, what I'm doing on the backside is I'm building a better private capital market. So I'm working with private credit funds and I'm understanding what it is that they're looking for in terms of underwriting risk. And I'm trying to proactively collect that from folks while I'm supporting folks building equity. So by creating these tools that are actually like making the exit studio better, helping you navigate to take the right types of actions in your business and be able to activate, that concept of building equity. While I'm doing that, I'm actually proactively collecting data points that feed a better private capital market. And in doing so, I can hopefully push competition in the private capital markets through a more dynamic system that, hopefully will drive prices or cost of capital down through increased competition. And hopefully through what we're building with the platform, building equity, we're decreasing risk, which will hopefully decrease default rate, which will hopefully mean that if we're decreasing default rate, then, on the capital market side, the default is really built into cost of capital. And if you can lower default rate, then hopefully you can also lower the cost of capital. So I do think that we could disrupt and continue to disrupt a better private capital market, and we are doing so. But collectively, I also, with this brand, am kind of shifting more towards like a family office for the rest of us type of model branding, because I think that giving folks this mindset of a long-term, really long-term equity management, which is the advisory firm we run, which is like how we, how we do all these things to build equity for the long term. It's getting into a long-term mindset and making the right types of long-term sustainable decisions. I do think that putting somebody into the mindset of a holdco or a family office and empowering folks early and often to think that way, which is why I think entrepreneurship, where being an entrepreneur is a great identity to take on. Even if you're, broad TAM as a bootstrapper, you should act like an entrepreneur, which is to almost like run your business like it's a family office to a certain extent, right? Reduce or remove risk, you increase the likelihood of outcome over a longest period of time, which is how you maximize profitability and sustainability, right? So that's kind of where I'm shifting with Bootstrapper Capital. But the core goal of the brand and what we're doing is very intentional, right? So everything is intentional. Even the book, when I released it on my birthday, right? And then I priced it. I had a couple of buds like text me being like, oh, I saw the price was $7.77. Yeah, because it was July 7th, right? So like 7/7. And 777 is like my lucky number. So everything is very hyper intentional in terms of like what I'm trying to do here and design here and execute here. And there's a lot of thought and dedication and commitment behind this, like years and years and years of work. So with these episodes, the first episode, hyper intentional. Second episode, uh, it's all about building a cash flow machine, right? Which every bootstrapper, if you can organize around profit, step number one, being able to figure out your unit economics and puts you in a position to actually be able to grow sustainably, right? Without needing to get venture money to be able to support that type of growth. And I know that Chase does a phenomenal job because I've seen him do these workshops in the past. I've lived it, I learned it, I saw it. And he's also a good operator, which is his brand. And I just knew that that was going to be a great episode. So the first two, between Alessandro and Get Dynasty, doing QSBS and trusts, which is like a family office level insight that every entrepreneur, it's usually gate kept, but every entrepreneur should have. So that was kind of like a sneak peek to that. Cash flow machine with Chase and good operators, like the fundamentals of building a better business, bootstrapping. And then the third episode with Lucas, I saw him create content, and the content he was creating caught my eye, and I checked him out, and I'm like, man, he's working at Walmart. Like, he is an exit one entrepreneur. And a big thing that I want to do is celebrate folks at every single stage of the exit. So the first two were really all about not gatekeeping. Like, it was about gathering and collecting resources that we can all collectively benefit from. Sandro's venture backed. He's not bootstrapping, but he's building something really cool that every bootstrapper should use. It's a collective resource. Chase is bootstrapping. He's on that bootstrapper journey, but he's also building something that benefits us all, right? So I want to be able to give a voice, and I want to collect the resources. The third episode was really more about giving a voice and highlighting and celebrating each of these exit stages, because Lucas is doing a great job creating awesome content, documenting this journey while he's in the day job at one of the largest corporations in the world, and then bootstrapping on the side so that he can get to an exit one, which exit one is quite literally exit the day job and start making your business your job. So I knew I wanted to like wedge that messaging into one of the early first 4 episodes. I knew that I needed to stack the value with the first couple. And then on the 4th episode, it's really, I wanted to target somebody who's lived this entire life and this journey in like a very public, incredible way. So Dom Wells of Unfolio, he literally has gone from being a school teacher to running a NASDAQ listed holding company. And he's done so fairly in public over a long period of time. And he's lived each of the 5 exits. So I knew like I wanted to wrap out the first month's, episodes, the first 4 episodes with like that story. And it was a great episode where we really got into the early stages, but then we also started to touch on some like high level stuff of operating a holdco and capitalization and like later stage, exit 3, exit 4, exit 5 stuff. And hopefully each of these guests from the first 4 episodes become reoccurring guests. And hopefully each one of them we can have come back, and then we could get into the weeds with something very, very specific. And we can really try to gather and collect as many specific actionable resources as we possibly can, because I want to turn each episode into value, and I want to deliver that value through the newsletter, and I want to create lemon drops or bootstrapper bundles, like little things that we can give and create value and really be able to deliver on the messaging that hopefully will build audience. So that's the intention behind what we did. And I'm sharing this because I want you to know, like, I genuinely care, and a lot of thought has gone into this. Right. So hopefully running these retrospectives, we can connect the emotional why, because clearly there's a purpose and there's an intention, which is very heavy emotional, but we want to connect the emotion with the logic. So we want to run a retrospective and say, hey, are we doing a good job? So I'm not a YouTube specialist. I'm not an expert on YouTube. I have like 200 YouTubes on my channel, and I only had like, up until this point, I've done like 200 videos over years, and I only had like 100,000 views. And, a little bit of a teaser, I've done more views with this series of these 4 episodes, to date. So like, I'm definitely not a YouTube expert by any way, shape or form. So I asked ChatGPT, this is the prompt that I put together, and I fed it all the data. I went to the YouTube content, like Creator Studio, YouTube Studio, when you have a channel, they give you a studio that you can see all your data and analytics on everything that you upload. I downloaded it, I fed it into ChatGPT, I then created a prompt, and then I ran that prompt and I had it just analyze and dissect it for my feedback and also for this video. So that's the prompt I used. Not the whole thing's not pasted in there, but yada, yada, yada. You get the drift. And from a data perspective, this is what we're working with, right? So this is, again, like GPT kind of fed it back to me. It took our actual data over the last 28 days. It benchmarked it against industry average data. I also used Grok 4 to run the research, the market research insights. And I also use Perplexity to a certain extent that I fed into Grok 4 to be able to then feed into ChatGPT. So those are the data sources, our YouTube channel, and then the research collected through Grok 4 and Perplexity. From a views perspective, we've done over 100,000 views on this Bootstrapping to Billions series, this podcast, which to me is crazy because it took me years to get to the first 100K and like 200 videos, which again, I'm not good at creating content. That's not what I've done. I have like 0 social following. I don't even think I have, like, we have an Instagram, but I don't have an Instagram. I haven't been on Facebook in years. I have a Twitter, but I don't tweet or X. I never did this social stuff. I was always an operator. I built businesses. Like, I lived this life and I did this for a really long time. And I didn't do the social media stuff, which today I regret tremendously. I started doing it a few years ago when I went through that like season of shift. And I really tried to simplify and refine around my family, my kiddos, and lifestyle and time with them. And I started to do a lot of this media stuff then because I saw the value of the distribution. I did not do it the right way, right? I recorded a whole video because I took like a 6-month break and I reflected. It's like I got like 200 videos on my channel and I felt like I kind of did what I thought I needed to do, right? Like what I almost like was this guy on the outside seeing other people do it. And then I'm like, oh, let me just copy that instead of just like doing more authentic things to me as somebody who's actually lived it, learned it, and probably has more street cred in this space than, I don't want to say anybody else, but I think I got like a lot of actually earned street cred doing this stuff, living this life. And I'm not proud of the content really that I've created thus far. So also another reason for doing this is I want to change that, right? I want to really, again, build, in my mind, what I see as $1 billion brand. I've never really been a brand guy. I'm not a brand builder. I may not even be the guy that can build $1 billion brand, but I do think that the Bootstrapper brand should be $1 billion brand. I think it should be the Nike of entrepreneurship. And if it's me or if it's somebody else, it should happen because I think that collectively we should be able to build $1 billion or more of bootstrapped equity. I think it's a hyper addressable market. Most folks are bootstrapped, super under-resourced, super overlooked. And functionally and fundamentally, there's a better way of approaching it. And I think that if we can drive building equity and then we could solve the capital market problem and unlock capital, then we can go on and support exits. And there's also this massive trend right now of the aged out owner, the silver tsunami of exiting businesses. And when you exit a business, exit 5, there's, really you're doing diligence to be able to remove risk in a business. And when you're doing these micro equity deals, the diligence, you don't want to invest all of this money because the deal size doesn't really justify it. So there's natural intrinsic risk on the buy side. And I also think that the platform that I'm building, right, and hopefully collectively we're building together, can reduce risk on diligence and buy side. So I think I could build a better exit marketplace so that it's super simple. If you want to build on the platform and then you do want to sell, you just list it for sale. And then on the buy side, you come in and it's like all of the business information and data, like a true, probably best ever deal room, is just right there. And then you complete the transaction. And when it's time for integration, like you hand it off for transferability and you hand off the deal. Integration is when you take it over. All you're doing is assigning account ownership because like literally the whole business is built inside of the platform, right? It's all right there. So I think we could build a better exit marketplace. Let's get back to the data. So from a views perspective, we're doing well, but I did, and do some things to try to push that, especially for this first 4 episodes, which we'll get into. And I don't know if it's actually hurt me or helped me. So hopefully, maybe some comments, you can add some comments if you got YouTube experts listening to this. Help us, help me, right? Help me make this awesome for everybody, right? Like help me do a better job, right? So I thought, initially the goal should be to drive as many views as possible because you need to build awareness so you can build an audience. Our watch time is, to me, a good indicator of if we're creating good content. I know, like, I watch podcasts. I'm a consumer. Like, I am also the consumer. I'm the audience behind this too. And when I find something that I like, I just watch it all the way through. So I thought, honestly, that the watch time would be through the roof on these episodes. I thought we would be stacking, like, I don't know, tens of thousands of hours. Or like each episode is like an hour long. And we're getting a lot of views. I thought there'd be like thousands and thousands of hours. Apparently, we're on par in terms of right in the middle. Average for our niche is like 15 to 30 hours per 1,000 views, and we're at 22. So we're like literally dead in the middle, which is cool. I think I need to maybe, do a better job to retain folks through. I don't edit anything really. I throw in the lemon guy at the beginning, and that's pretty much it. And then we record everything on Riverside, and it has like the self editor. Maybe we invest there. Everything below that is something that we need to work on. So like click-through rate is the thumbnail and the title. It's like if it shows up on YouTube, do people engage with it? Apparently not for us. Like I'm not doing good with thumbnails, and I thought they look pretty nice, but maybe it's my titles. I don't know. So I think testing here is definitely a simple bet to run. I'm probably going to outsource and delegate this to somebody who knows it better than myself and can teach me. So if you're that person, reach out. But, I'm also finding people, we'll tweak this. So this is like one of the simple bets that we can run. The likes, comments, and subscriber conversions, to me, this is where the rubber hits road. This is what we're trying to achieve, which is building a community and an audience with high levels of engagement. I run my newsletter. My newsletter, Simple Profits, has like extremely high open rates. We have like 40 to 50,000 weekly readers. I've done it for 350 issues, 100 or so. At one point, I was running dailies. So it's not really 6 years or 7 years if you do that math, divided by 350 divided by 52, because I was doing daily issues. But again, it's like years of consistency. I've been running this newsletter for like years consistently. And I started it as a build in public, a buy in public, actually. So I acquired newsletters and I integrated them together. And then I started running this thing, and I tried to create like a media flywheel with it. And I ran experiments, and I used the lessons and the experiments in the newsletter when I built the audience. And then I just continued to run it through, and I actually enjoy it. It's a massive tank filler for me. I enjoy it. I'm hoping that this media content of the podcast can be similar. YouTube to date has not been that for me. It's just been a thing that I've felt like I've had to do to a certain extent, and I haven't even necessarily always done it the way that I've wanted to. Hopefully this is a change where we could make that happen. I have an audience with the newsletter. I want an audience with YouTube, with this podcast. And right now our likes seem to be high, but our comments and conversions are not. And to me, the comments and conversions are the indicator of community and audience, right? Like if somebody's engaged enough and they subscribe, they're kind of like, hey, I want more of this. Like I'm a part of this. This is cool. This is for me. I'm not seeing the conversions that I want to there. We're not like super low, but we are below average, right? And then on comments, like our comment engagement sucks. We're not getting any comments. I've never gotten comments on my videos, like 200 videos in, and some of them have gotten some views, not as many views as we have with this podcast, but I've never had comments. Maybe it's the way I create content or something else. And that something else may be the way we're doing it. So when I'm thinking about this, all this data, what does it mean, right? Like, what are we going to do with it? And what does it mean? This is me, Lemon Guy, sitting here. This is fine. The data looks pretty decent, but I have some thoughts. And the first thought that I have ties back to distribution. So it's like we've created this content. How did we get it out there, and how did we get eyeballs? and it's like inputs to outputs, right? If the views are high, but the engagement is low, maybe like where we're getting the views from isn't good or the right things, or maybe there's something in terms of a function of how we're accomplishing this that's putting a constraint on the goals in which we're trying to achieve. So I want to really think this through. I prompted through with GPT and we've pushed it through, but I also want to think outside the box. Again, engage, add comments, share your thoughts. From a distribution perspective, I think it's important to share, right? We launched this podcast. I put a plan in place to be able to get views. I really want to get to 25,000. 25,000 is my initial target. I really wanted the first 4 episodes to get 25,000 views each. That would get me 100,000 core without any shorts or any other content, just the long form episodes on the first 4, right? I tried to put things in place to get there. I then wanted to go from 25,000 to 50,000 by just doing more of what was working. And then I wanted to continue to do more what was working a little bit better by running simple bets to get to 100,000. And I really saw this view in my mind of like 6 episodes to 8 episodes to 12 episodes being somewhere between the 50 to 100,000 view. I don't think that it's not, I think that that's still on the table for us. I just think that we need to run retrospectives and then use the data to make good timely decisions and be able to get there, right? In terms of our existing distribution, we have our newsletters, right? So I have my main newsletter that I talked about already, which has a really amazing audience, a phenomenal following, great engagement, and a track record, like years doing it, right? We also own other newsletters. I also own a lot of other newsletters. I actually own a brand in my portfolio that literally like builds newsletters, and it's not as active as it was at one point. At one point, it was like a pretty, like 2 years ago, or maybe, I don't know. Don't do public math. Don't do public timelines. It was like a very cool little, caught a wave of newsletters popping up, and it was like pretty popular in terms of a really great offer. But yeah, so we have some other properties and stuff that I've been pushing it out through. And then through Beehive, you and other newsletter platforms, you can engage with the creators and you can run campaigns. And I've run campaigns on targeted audiences. I have a vision in my mind of monetizing our media. I've yet to really monetize our media the right way. I am starting to put into place kind of somewhat of a infrastructure to be able to do so, where we can sell sponsorships and then integrate them into some of the other things we're doing. I need obviously a good, strong, valuable audience to do so. Once we do it for ourselves, which I will do, once I do it for myself, especially if I commit to content, the natural byproduct then becomes the ability to do for others. So I do have this mindset of like creating a network. And again, one of my early bootstrap businesses was a very, 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 very large digital publisher network, like a media publishing network. And I know the model, and I know that the model can work. It's been years. It's been like many years since I've done it successfully. But fundamentally, like markets make, and it's just a market. So I'm sure I could figure it out if we put our time towards it. I think there's an opportunity. I kind of have this thesis right now that distribution is what matters. I think that the distribution and your model, I think it's your media and your model that make a business today. I think that software is about to become like a pretty significant commodity. I think there's going to be a lot of products being pumped on market. I think it's going to be expensive to start to buy ads. I think we're already seeing saturation of content, pushing people to paid. Paid prices are going up. I think more is going to happen as more software is built. I think paid acquisitions become expensive. I think content alone and SEO is going to go away. I think like your distribution and your audience through your brand, I think realistically it's brand. I think building a strong brand and having a phenomenal business model behind it. I don't want to use the word money model because like hype machine right now with Hormozy doing that. But like what he's pushed out with money models, I'll touch on it for a second. Like that's what bootstrappers have done for years. Like what he's sharing is kind of, I mean, it is the exit studio. A lot of what he covers is in the exit studio, but you can build models that help you bootstrap a profitable business. And if you have a strong model and you have good media distribution brand, you could win in this new market, this new age. From a distribution perspective, I think that there's going to be people that create content. I also think there's going to be a lot of creators of products. I think that there's a market opportunity for a brand, especially like a big brand or a good brand or a $1 billion brand or a bootstrapper brand, like something like a Nike or Entrepreneurship, to create almost like a network model. And you bring together other micro creators and other micro, builders, and you kind of run like a network, like a media network for them. You can do that once you do it for yourself. So in my mind, it's like do for yourself and then do for others. Part of this distribution is me testing out like what it's like to start to build relationships with some of these people, some of these creators, some of these platforms, some of these newsletters, etc. But yeah, we've been like heavily newsletter heavy in terms of the initial promotion. I don't have much of a LinkedIn following. Our guests posted it on LinkedIn. I mean, it's got decent like impressions, for your average LinkedIn user, it's probably very high. For like somebody who wants to be a creator, it's probably not. But, I think that it's been decent. I think the primary drivers have been newsletters and then a very small paid ads budget. We had folks from Google reach out to us and got on a call with us and and did a screen share with us and set up on the YouTube how to run awareness campaigns for this strategy. I didn't record it. I probably should have. It probably would have made for great content. But we did run like a small paid budget using that as well for awareness. That's our distribution. My thesis, which I don't want to spoiler, but I think a lot of these negative downside results on the engagement, as well as a lot of our positive good upside results in terms of views and watch time, I think it comes to how we got them, how we got the views. For example, when you're doing these newsletter sponsors and like you're embedding your videos places, when they're embedded someplace, it's not clicking to the channel. So there's no comments. Like there is literally on a lot of how we got views by means of the channel in terms of the mechanism of distribution, there is no way to engage. Like, let me go to, I don't know if it's going to share my screen right now, but I'm going to one of the issues and like on the issue, the video's right here, you play it, you can watch it, right? That you can't engage with it. So I don't know. I think maybe it's part distribution mechanism. Again, not my special sauce. I'm going to probably find people and then delegate to figure this out. For me, the first step was to everything get started. And I just wanted to start simple with a purpose and a reason, which we have a very real purpose. And the reason is pretty clear and important. I think I could do a better job getting specific with the goal of the podcast. I may start to segment some of the content, like speaking with exited founders or people who are getting capital ready, or like I may get segmented, right? But I think we're doing a good job. And originally I just wanted to get started and I wanted the first 4 episodes to be very intentional in terms of our why. And I wanted to connect the goal of the podcast to the actual production. And I wanted to produce it. I wanted to do it. Don't just say it, do it. And then once you do it, you do more of it. And then once you do more of it, you do it better. And we're starting to get to the do more of it, do it better perspective, right? In order to do it better, you need to understand the model behind it and connect not just your why, not just your purpose, not just your personal why, but also your financial why, right? You need your financial right and your personal left, right? Your and then that gives you your true North Star to make good, timely decisions. In terms of the model here, my vision is for the media to cover CAC. And CAC stands for customer acquisition cost. I would love to prove that we can create quality enough media in the form of podcasts, which I think will have multiple podcasts, not just this one, and newsletters, which we already do have multiple newsletters. I think that we can sell sponsorships on these properties. And I think that the sponsorship money can be reinvested towards acquisition, which will also grow audience and grow subscribers. But if we can integrate better leading offers, we can drive that audience growth into conversions. And those conversions would be like subscribing to the newsletter based off of, again, like a leading offer, right? Capturing audience, and engagement, which is the intention here, right? So I think that we can build a media platform and a media model that actually covers our ability to acquire. For example, if I can acquire a newsletter subscriber for $2.50 and I'm getting 25, I don't know, don't do public math, but $25,000 in sponsorships, then I can get 10,000 newsletter subscribers, right? And from those 10,000 newsletter subscribers, can I get, don't do public math, a percentage of those to convert? And then can I get a percentage of those to convert to my core offer? On the core offer side, we build everything around this cash conversion cycle. This is something that we've taught, and this is something that we've promoted in our SME framework, our sell it, make it, exit it framework that we teach people how to launch businesses for years now, right? When you can figure out how to get a positive cash conversion cycle, what you're doing is you're acquiring a customer, you're selling something that you're acquiring a customer, you're delivering to that customer you're acquiring, and you have enough additional unit economics built in to acquire and deliver your next. When you could figure that stuff out, and this is covered inside of also this episode of building a cash flow machine, because this is how bootstrappers build cash flow cycles and grow sustainably, achieve sustainable, profitable growth that can compound. When you figure this stuff out, you don't have to rely on venture money, and you're not burning money to acquire it and grow at all costs and burning cash. You can actually grow profitably, right? So my core offer achieves that as of right now. And I'm always tweaking and I'm always refining and I'm always trying to plug in something better, right? And testing and making simple bets. My core offer right now, I'm trying to drive everything into this rebrand. So again, I'm rebranding Bootstrapper Capital around the family office for the rest of us. That's kind of like the top tier brand, right? I have LTEM, which is my long-term equity management advisory, right? Where we partner with, businesses 2 million to 20 million. And we're really all about long-term equity management, maximizing the value of the business by removing risk, right? We have the exit studio, we have the software, we have the exited community, right? We're trying to position everything to feed into our Bootstrapper.ai software, right? Even our subsidiary brands, I've talked about SMB Bookkeeper in the past, like our bookkeeping brand, Profit Led, which does, business process optimization, right? Like we have all these portfolio brands, many of which I'll probably never even discuss. I'm trying to convert everything and deliver everything through this one centralized platform, Bootstrapper.ai, because I believe that Bootstrapper.ai is amazing. I believe it should be $1 billion brand. And I believe that collectively, if we drive enough users to it that are using it and adopting it, and we build an amazing activation model through the Exit Studio, then we can truly build and track $1 billion worth of bootstrap equity. And that would be a major thing, because building the equity is step one. Because in order to allocate capital, in order to unlock capital, I need the equity built. So if I'm really trying to build a better private capital market, if I'm working with all these private credit funds, we're trying to build a more dynamic market on the backside, I need the equity being built and the data to be able to feed that, right? And then eventually, as we go on and we build a better exit marketplace, again, you need the equity built. Equity being built is the starting point. It's everything at the beginning, which is why we're focusing there so much. So, you get that core offer, and then from the core offer, then you're going to up value into maximizing the lifetime value of your clients, of your customers, right? So you're trying to get a media machine that pays for your acquisition, right, while you're delivering value. and then you're trying to get them into a core offer, if you can achieve the two of these things, what you're doing is actually achieving exponential growth, because your core offer covers customer acquisition costs if you weren't doing media, earned media, right? But if you're creating good quality media, you're earning your media and you're getting paid by sponsors. Now you got earned media growth and you got paid acquisition, but it's funded by sponsors. So now you can actually compound. This is how instead of 2x, you can go 20x, right? This is an exponential growth model if you can figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm going to figure it out in public, and I'll share it with you guys. All of this is, again, delivered through the Bootstrapper.ai platform, which is only $100 a month, right? Super reasonable, beyond affordable in terms of price to value. Far more expensive to get far less from other, even if you just classify it as a business operating system, right? Which we give you everything you need to run a full equity management system, to build equity, unlock capital, exit with ownership, and operate in a cadence of accountability every single week, week after week after week after week, so that you're progressing in your business. I built an amazing thing and you should use it. It's only $100. Beyond affordable. I don't necessarily care about the subscription. We'll probably get rid of the subscription at some point. I want to make Exit Studio and software free for everybody. I just want to make it everybody have access to it. I need to get the unit economics right to be able to do that. That's probably a down the line type of thing. Once I figure out more of the back end offer values, specifically the capital side and the exit marketplace side. But right now, you can get access to the platform as $100 a month. And then we have these additional up values. And again, up valuing is your ability to capture a customer. And then once you, from a core offer, and then once you've captured it, learn their next problem. And when you learn their next problem, what you're really doing is you're understanding them, you're understanding their situation, you're understanding their budget, you're understanding what they're able to pay for to solve. And you're understanding what's in their way to get to where they want to be. And then you remove those things by becoming the solution. And you're up valuing. And for us, we have 3 core up value offers to maximize back end lifetime value. And this is like across the board. We have other things that we've integrated from our core portfolio of within Simple Holdings, but these are like our primary. Like this is what we're very forward about. And again, we're collecting a lot of data on your business, so I kind of know how to position. We're going to become better at this over time, and maybe even the best. But like, I want to be able to actually genuinely position the right things to you at the right time to create the right level of a value that you can afford, right? I want to build sustainable businesses at scale. Like, I've been building businesses my whole life. I love it. It's my game. I'm limited. I have constraints. If I could build this, there's a good chance I could help build 1 billion bootstrap businesses. Like I could definitely, like I could scale what it is that I love by doing this better. So it matters and I enjoy it and it's important to me. I also think like, again, this should be a $1 billion brand. And I also think that we're at this moment in time where we're literally watching fire being invented in front of our eyes. Like we're all cavemen, like, and then all of it cold. And then all of a sudden, like somebody sparked fire, which is AI. And we're going through this whole fundamental shift. Seize the day. Like I've been in hibernation for about 5 years now, just like spending time with my kiddos and enjoying life and maximizing the value there. I don't want to be in a situation 5 or 10 years from now where my kids look at me once they're a little bit older and they're like, Dad, what's wrong with you, dude? Like you knew how to do this stuff. You were there. You sat on the sidelines. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you take advantage of this opportunity? Why didn't you seize it? So that's what I'm trying to do with Bootstrapper AI. And what we're building right now is I'm trying to like get out of hibernation mode, get off the sidelines, get into the game again in a big way, but do it my way, right? Do it the way that I've learned through lived experience to be able to do it. And if I fail, whatever, but at least I try and at least I took a shot, right? So we have these 3 things that I think we could position really positively in a positive, uplifting way. Not let me try to make as much money as possible, but let me create as much value as possible. The first is the Exit Studio with a guarantee. So everyone, when you come into the core offer, you're getting access to like a delivered version of the Exit Studio, built-in software, plus the software, plus a box where I've like literally bundled all of my books, which I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 books or whatever right now. I'm like, you get like a t-shirt, and I want to make it a tangible, real experience. Cause again, I want to build a good brand. So I want people to feel a part of this thing. So as of right now, probably not going to do this forever. You get an owner's box where I literally ship you this really cool, sexy box. You unpack it. It's got all these valuable, very tangible things, and you can become a part of it, and you can immediately put it to work in the software. You get access to the Exit Studio where you can go through these very intentional modules, very well designed and thought out, that work. And then you can activate the software and start building equity so you can unlock capital exit with ownership. If you choose to, we have this other like managed version of the studio for anybody exit 1 through exit 5. And it just comes with a guarantee. We're going to guarantee the equity that we'll build with you, and we'll continue to work with you until you do. Like, we just want you successful, right? So like the first step is just a guarantee to being successful with what is. For exit 2 through 5 owners, these are folks with a little bit more budget, probably a little bit more problems. Our long-term equity management, our advisory firm, amazing, world-class, best in the world at building wedge. I invented wedge equity, right? We are the best at it. We're only getting better, and it's going to become a better experience to the software. We will help you build long-term equity, right? It's in the name. LTEM stands for long-term equity management. We help you reduce the risk that will kill your business, right? There's things that will kill your business. We help you identify it, remove it, and that results in a more valuable business over time. And then we have this other thing for exited or nearly exited founders, folks that have a couple $1 million net worth, right? Have accomplished something that's pretty apex, right? If you have achieved an exit, especially a bootstrapped exit, you're kind of a very selective crew of folks. But there's also levels to this, right? And if you've exited for a couple $1 million up to maybe like 20 million or so, you do not have the same access to resources post exit as somebody who has 50 million or really 100 million or more, right? When you get to that 100 million or more net worth, high net worth individual, you're setting up family offices, and you're really given access to this whole new world of information and resources to be able to maintain multi-generational legacy wealth. And when you're downstream from that, you have this new problem, right? And that problem is you have money and you need to know what to do with it, right? So you have this problem, but you don't necessarily have the right level of access. And what we're trying to solve for with the exited community is that access. So we're trying to almost create like a collective bargaining, like an economies of scale based approach to solving the family office type of solution. So this is for folks that are going to exit and they know it and they want to proactively get prepared for that and start planning, or they have and they're experiencing this, and you really want to make sure you're making the right decisions, but you don't necessarily want to make that heavy investment to everything. So fractionally, you can get access through our exited community. It's a fractional family office level experience in the form of a community, right? So those are our 3 core on the backside to maximize value to folks. Every single one of them is driven and adopted through the platform. Forcing the function of the Exit Studio through platform is new to us, and it's forcing us to build a better version of the platform. It's forcing us to refine and make sure that the activation to specific items is better. We've actually simplified the equity management system a lot to be able to support better adoption. Long-term equity management, the software was literally built around the IP that we've been running long-term equity management with for years. So what we've done manually in an analog way, like literally written books to hand to people, has just been converted into software over the past couple of years, which there's a whole story behind that I'm not going to get into. But again, it forces us by doing this in platform to just build a better product, to support it better. And then the exited community is a new thing that we want to be able to deliver. And we're trying to target and identify these things that a unique persona, a unique ICP of founder, nearly exited and exited founders, you have different problems that you're solving for. But if we can get those solutions solved in the platform, then we can bring them downstream to folks prior to them having them. And we can really support that concept of operating with a hold co or an investorpreneurship, an investpreneur mentality, a hold co mentality. And we think that that's going to drive a better version of the platform. So we've also done these things very intentionally, and we think that it's just going to drive a better version of the product. And then obviously there's other things in our portfolio, and things will always evolve and change. But these are the things that are delivered, right? And it comes from this model, and it's a model that makes sense. And hopefully it gets supported by the media, which we need to figure out how to do better, right? First, we got to do more of it, then we got to do it better. And the bets that I think we should make are really the bets that ChatGPT suggests that we should make, that I'm kind of looking at and saying, hey, yeah, these make sense. You can't do everything, but you could definitely focus on, one thing to execute pretty well. We have 5 bets based off of the data that we should take into consideration. Again, in comments, add which of the bets you think is best, or maybe if we're missing a bet, which bet you would do, right? So that we could do this better. But the 5 bets that we identified thus far is to optimize the CTA, right? And drive better engagement. That's going to improve this conversion, leading offer conversion, but also it's going to force us to create more value in the content. And by forcing us to create and then deliver that value, hopefully it creates goodwill. And hopefully that goodwill actually builds a stronger audience, because if people are getting, if you're putting up a video and every week somebody's getting something, like when I built the Simple Profits newsletter, I was doing it daily. It was a daily send. I was writing it. This is like pre-GPT in a sense. Like it was, you couldn't just AI-ify a newsletter. I was like pumping this thing out, and I was doing the work. I was also delivering templates every day, and I was able to deliver templates every day because I was writing the books, right? So because I was writing, I wrote literally over 1,000 pages of books in a very short period of time to support our LTEM advisory, because we were growing that at the time, and our advisors needed that core infrastructure of the productized, like the content. Because I was doing that, I was able to pump out the value and the templates and everything, right? It helped us grow. People were getting value. So like the open rate, the retention, everything. I want to do the same with this channel, with the podcasts, with the content. I want to make it so that, like, if I drop something, I'm dropping value. There's a lemon drop tied to it. You're going to get something sweet and you're going to want it. I want to work on that. I also want to do more shorts. So I think like shorts drove a ton of views for us, like a significant portion, but I did not do shorts for all of the long forms, and I did not push enough shorts. And I was talking to Lucas. He actually gave me feedback because he's actually into this media stuff after one of the episodes. And he gave some suggestions of a tool I should use and ways to do this. So definitely something I want to push is more of these shorts, see if we can drive, more engagement there. Also from like a budget perspective, I think budgeting, if I'm going to budget for like ads or Beehive or like newsletter promotions, I want to keep the newsletter promotions going to a certain extent. I pulled back on newsletter sponsorships after the first couple of episodes, and then our views dropped, like cut in half. So I do know that they were driving, definitely distribution for us. I don't know in terms of a budget. I think maybe a budget behind awareness to shorts is something that somebody suggested to me. I'll test that out. So like CTA and shorts. I do want to centralize our newsletter as the core CTA delivery mechanism. We had that set up in a past life, like a year and a half ago or so. We were using a Shopify platform to deliver all of these like templates and stuff when I was doing content previously. And we were running this for the community model. And it worked. I want to centralize under the newsletter though. And I just want to build audience. So I do want to be able to drive CTAs to centralization to audience building. the CTR optimization, like click-through rate optimization, I don't think that that's merely my wheelhouse, but I think we just need to test. And I need to probably find somebody. And again, a big portion of what I want to do here is create content that creates value for everybody. So I think finding somebody that actually knows this stuff really, really well, and then having them help me do it, and then maybe using that as an experiment, simple bet, and sharing it publicly and maybe making that the content could be very valuable. And then I do want to figure out how to drive engagement. So I do want to figure out, so CTR and engagement, things that I want to probably source from subject matter experts. But these are the bets that we could potentially run. Let us know in the comments what it is that you think that we should be doing. End of the day, this is fine. It is what it is. It's all part of the journey. I'm very proud to be able to do what we're doing today. I'm extremely passionate about the brand that we have the freedom to build. I think that it's a privilege to be able to work on this every day. I've been doing it for a long time, right? It's most of what I've ever known. I have had different seasons. So if you know my content, follow my story, you know that there's been like these seasons every 5 years of different things. I think that for the next 5 years, like this moment in time is to push, is to truly bootstrap to billions. I think that collectively we should be bootstrapping to billions. We should build and track $1 billion of equity, at least on platform. Hopefully in not too long, I'm saying not just 1 billion, but maybe it's 10 billion and then 100 billion, who knows? But for time being, this is bootstrapping to billions. Till next time, trust the process, commit to the journey. See you on the other side.